All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the introduction to the brand new firing range here in season 17. I have some incredible people on the behind the scenes development team of Respawn who help put this together and lead the charge on the fundamental changes that are happening here for the firing range to help players all around the Apex universe. And I cannot wait to talk to them all about what's new. Of course, we've got Jeff Shaw and Josh Mohan. Jeff, can you introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what your role is and what you do at Respawn?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm Jeff Shaw. I'm the maps lead here at Respawn, and yeah, we just developed the levels for the game. So
Awesome. Josh?
Yeah, my name's Josh Mohan, lead game designer for World Systems. We make a lot of the mechanics you find out in the world, crafting AI, vehicles, things like that, and we developed a lot of the mechanics that are in the firing range.
Really cool. I'm already liking the synergy. I could tell maybe a new look, new mechanics. That sounds like a great mix for a firing range that's interactive. And I guess for me, I'll start off with this. What was your goal this season with the firing range changes?
Yeah, ultimately, the firing range should be a place where people can prepare for Battle Royale. We felt the old firing range just didn't have enough options, didn't have enough realistic scenarios that players could use to practice the skills that they're going to have to go in the Battle Royale to survive. So the overall goal is to provide more realistic scenarios. So we're going to go into the details in a bit, but we added things like allowing dummies to strafe, move, even shoot back at you. And Jeff can talk a bit about the areas he added.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it seems like my next follow up question hits on two fronts. So I'll give Jeff a chance to talk about maybe those areas because there's been some major additions visually to the firing range. Walk me through those major additions that have been made this season.
yeah, absolutely. We just looked kind of holistically at what we wanted the firing range to do, and Josh kind of talked about that a bit. But it's a place to just kind of come in, warm up, self-improve, test out features in the game, test out legends and weapons, and test out how to move in the game and really familiarize yourself with the game. And it's also a place to just kind of like hang out with your friends and kill time. So we felt that the firing range, as it currently stood, wasn't really doing as much justice to those goals as we kind of hoped. So we really tried to expand on it. So we redesigned sort of the whole core area of the firing range. Looked at the loot and how that was set up and how that was organized, and made sure that everything's at your fingertips. We also created some new things that help you get loot anywhere that you're standing in the firing range. You can go up to these new like loot caches and grab those. So we've really expanded a lot on just like the core concept of what we hope the firing range would accomplish. And then in terms of just like the world, we expanded. The back is like this whole area we're calling the training grounds, which is this sort of like small size point of interest where you can fight dummies in there, and you can do a bunch of combat loops through there, and really just sort of like get a feel for what more of a POI scenario might feel like. You can also just like fight your friends in there as well. And then to the left of that, we've created just an area for basically for like 1v1 dueling to figure out who's got the best wingman in the West, best wingman in the Outlands. So it was kind of fun for us. We took what we saw a lot of our community was using for one-on-ones, were these rocks, these certain concrete blocks, and we actually kind of incorporated that into what we're calling the duel pit. So that kind of like headshot strafey block setup still exists, but we've sort of added to it and added a few more things. And then the other major addition is what we're calling just like the agility course. And this was really about familiarizing yourself with sliding, crouching, grabbing zip lines, getting to high places, chaining zip lines, doing zip cancels, all that kind of fun stuff. We've also included some jump pads in there as well. And then you can experiment with, there's a zip rail also at the rear of the course. So we've added a lot of stuff and really built it in a way where we're just looking at like core loops and flow and making sure that it just really feels good to move around the space.
I imagine, Josh, this was kind of a kid in a candy store for a game that launched to such overnight success. The firing range was just there. I think it was several seasons later to when we had to do tap up A, B, left, right, up, and then crouch to get anything going on. And now all these interactions, all these things are possible Can you walk me through a little bit more of the detail of some of the things possible now in this new firing range to help players train?
So for training, like I said before, we added a bunch of areas to really test just the core basics of the game, right? We wanted this to be, if you're in over your head, and the game, there's a lot of stuff to learn in Apex, right? It's a pretty deep game, so we wanted this area, like the firing range, to sort of incorporate a lot of that stuff and teach you the bare basics, and you can kind of work it out in a low risk, low impact zone, right? So a lot of the things we added, kind of on the front, was we created this whole new firing range settings panel where you can go in, you can edit dummy behavior. We created this whole new auto spawning dummy system. So not only are you just like limited to the 4 dummies or whatever that are in front of you, but now there's a couple that are fixed in place, and then there's a bunch that use this new system that just spawn all around, and you can kind of play with those settings, right? So you can play with their shield levels, play with their behavior, decide whether or not they shoot back at you, decide how far away they spawn. And you can kind of incorporate that with just like a bunch of different training exercises that you're trying. We've also sort of expanded on that, where you can actually flip them into like full combat mode now. So before, that used to sort of be like a hidden Easter egg, and we've just incorporated it into the actual range itself. So you can turn on full combat mode, and the dummies will actually turn on like complete behavior and start chasing you and having fights with you. So it's a really good way to practice just shooting and strafing and all that kind of stuff.
Is there like a difficulty setting? Like, is there like a ASU difficulty you could apply to something? There'll be just, tap strafing all around, or what are the level options for that?
The difficulty settings are mostly around accuracy of how dangerous they are. Yeah, we don't quite have them at ACO level. A few of us are, but as Jeff said, yeah, you can basically cycle through easy, medium, hard, which determine how accurate they are and how much you need to dodge, how much you need to hide. And then also there's full combat mode where they just chase you down. And that's really fun to play around with in the new town that Jeff made at the back. You're basically playing your own mini horde mode. You can bring your friends in there. It's a great warm up and just kind of a little mini game we've created.
Josh, I'd love you to walk me through. I did a lot of kind of an overview with Jeff, but I want you to walk me through these areas specifically, and kind of the situations that they're here to help train players for, because it seems like there was a ton of thought in understanding the basics of Apex, and now there's a ton of opportunity that you guys have built into the game to not only learn those basics but expand and start getting into the advanced tactics. Talk to me about how each area kind of blends into a different opportunity for players to jump in and learn those things.
Absolutely. So the main area you see at the bottom of the hill remains basically unchanged. The goal there remains have access to all the weapons, practice a bit of looting, inventory management, and face off against those 3 core dummies. The 3 new areas I'll go through in turn. The first one is that town I mentioned, which is straight at the back, and that's meant to allow you to fight dummies in a more realistic game scenario. So you've got windows, doors, buildings, elevation changes, and a dynamic dummy system that spawns them wherever you're looking. So you can be on the move, they'll spawn at the perfect distance right in front of you. When you go to your right, what you'll see is an advanced movement area, and that's a bunch of our movement tech all put together, and you can make your own routes through there, practice the basics of ziplining, things like that, or really advanced movement, which I know, if you look on YouTube, you can see all sorts of tutorials for that stuff. The goal is a safe place to practice that. And then on the left, it's a formalized dueling area, and that's where you and your friends can have repeatable duels. A feature we added recently was that when you die, you just respawn on the spot with full health, so that should make that a little bit easier. And it's just a more consistent and symmetrical place where you can have fair duels in a controlled environment. One of my favorite memories from that area is jumping around with 2 of my friends, playing with a throwing knife from Gun Game. We had a free-for-all there. It was a ton of fun. Zip lines everywhere. Yeah, it's a cool, just sort of open space, sandboxy space that you can use to create your own little mini games with your friends.
I love it. I love it. That usually is only reserved for people about to win gun runs. So I have not been in the knife situation in a while. I'll definitely be using that in the training range for sure. I think too, this is something that feels in a way necessary based on the history and now the longevity of intentionality of this game lasting for years and new players constantly having to come in and learn this stuff. Was this something that was planned for a long time in the past and is now kind of coming to fruition, or was this a rather, quick change that you decided to implement in this new season?
We've been talking about this for a long time. The firing range, as you mentioned, has been remained, for a while unchanged since launch. But actually, this is the second round of changes we made to the firing range.
Right.
The first round went out in the previous season, where we added some of these customization options, like allowing the dummies to strafe, change their shield level. And so with season 17, we have the now Jeff's map update and a few more options added to the dummies. So this has been a long time coming, and we've been sort of breaking apart and drip feeding these changes over the course of a few seasons. And that represents for us really a commitment to just keep watching how people use the space, trying to perfect it and improve it. So don't expect this to be the final changes. We have a commitment to keep making this space a useful one for players to use to drill and train on the game.
I love it. It seems like it's all coming together really well and at a great time too. For those who don't know, the dummies you had mentioned, is there a way to customize them so that it's like fighting a Gibraltar? It's like fighting a 1v1 against an Octane? Are these things players can at this point do by themselves, or do they have to try to encourage their friends to join them for that experience?
Right now, the dummies can only simulate weapons, using weapons, firing back at you. We haven't really simulated player abilities yet. That's a kind of a trickier problem to solve. How do you train them to use those effectively?
Mm.
But that's something we're considering, because we do have an auto player system that is developing the ability to use legend abilities well. So that's something we could integrate into the range if we find people really want that kind of experience.
Well, now I got to ask, this has obviously been a journey for both of you, putting a lot of work into it. Can you talk to me about some of your favorite areas, maybe your favorite moment, maybe an Easter egg, something cool that you look forward to whenever you step into the firing range? Jeff, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I have a favorite area per se, but one of the things we really focused on in development, and I kind of touched on it earlier, was making sure that everything kind of like links together and there's really good like core loops through the whole place. So what we found pretty quickly was that once you kind of jump in, you sort of lose yourself and you lose a lot of time just playing around. And that was something that we really wanted to hit home, was just like, can you come in here and enjoy the space for, a good amount of time and actually really have fun in here and use all kind of aspects of the space and feel like you're really moving through the whole area. And I think we did a really good job at accomplishing that.
Yeah, I'll echo what Jeff said. This feature, I found myself spending a lot of time on this feature just because I jump in to try something new and I just lose half an hour just playing with all the new stuff. Yeah, one of my favorite things we added actually was a tool that allows you to change your inventory on the fly. It was something that came up organically, and to this idea of just the team playing with the new firing range themselves, we would identify the things that we found frustrating and were pain points for us. And people on the team, this was an engineer who came up with this just sort of overnight. He made this, no one really asked him to make it, but it was a modified death box in a way that just allows you to pick any item in the game, and we can place those anywhere we want in the firing range. So you don't have to go back to that original suite of guns to change your loadout. You can be in any one of these new areas we're discussing, and immediately pick your loadout, and it intelligently selects from attachments that are applicable to what you have right now in your inventory. So that's one of those really nice things that just was the team coming together, people using the range, people finding problems and just coming up with really creative solutions.
And that is fun. And maybe just kind of as we start to get closer to closing this, for those who don't know, I mean, how many of those ideas are iterative in the process of just play testing and coming up with that gem? And how many of them would you say, maybe percentage wise, do you kind of see the community take excitement in and make their own culture around, like the 1v1 dueling area that was not exactly established, but then now it's a real thing, based on some of those moments that we've seen on stream? How is the balance between those natural kind of fun finds and the things that the community is kind of already heading towards?
I think we really keep a close eye on our community and what they gravitate towards and what they really like and some of the behaviors that they recycle and repeat. And so We knew we wanted to have a space for 1v1s, you know, like I said, to prove who has the best wingman against your friends and stuff like that. Like that's always fun to have. And we just thought, you know, it would be sort of a nice little flourish or little note to actually just include those two blocks that people use to 1v1 all the time. But that being said, you know, it's a big space and you can kind of just fight your friends wherever. So yeah.
Just wanted to say, for us, it is a balance between looking at what the community is doing, trying to service that, but give them tools to do more cool stuff. And that's really another guiding principle behind this. We didn't want to prescribe to people, here's how you have to use it. You have to do these things in this order. We saw that the community is really creative with taking the firing range and doing unexpected things with it. So really one of the motivating principles behind this update is give them more tools to do more cool stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
I love that. And one of the things you're encouraging and cultivating is a place where people genuinely spend time practicing that is outside of the actual game. Like we see in most sports, it's playoff season around a lot of different things right now. You know, if you just practice by playing your playoff game, you don't really improve in the same way. You have those moments where you have an environment that is set up for it to actually happen and then to get you to that level. And it seems like there is this high commitment from Apex, which I know many of the players, new and old, appreciate, to continue helping players facilitate growth in the game and also just understanding of general FPS and BR mechanics that they can carry through to other games as well. And it seems like the firing range is doing just that. I am super excited for all of this. Season 17 is looking amazing, but this firing range edition is truly one of the best things we have seen, I think personally, in a very, very long time in gaming. Thank you so much, Jeff and Josh, and I'll give you guys any final words if you want to end on or tell anybody in the community or players who might be listening.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we're just really excited for everyone to get their hands on it and show us what they can do.
Yeah. 1v1 me, bro. That's what I have to say.
All right. And you know the community is always going to ask about them. Easter eggs. Are there any that we should be looking for in this new firing range?
Yeah, there's definitely some secrets in there. We're not going to spoil it, but we want you to hunt for them. So have fun.